Horse and Jazz from UX, and this is our Giraffes OP by channel TierZoo. Yes, on the TierZoo video, it's about giraffe. I thought he already did that, but apparently not. He's done so many videos that sometimes I get confused. But yeah, this is about giraffes. This is gonna be awesome. Is it a tier list type of video or what? I mean, I guess it's gonna be somewhat tier list. I don't know. There is two type of patterns, I guess. I don't think this is going to be tier list type of video, right? Because it's all about giraffe. Usually it's when one group of people he do. I guess it's when you see tier list, like which tier, or I don't know. Maybe there'll be tier. It's confusing sometimes because I'm pretty sure before older videos, it's like something is OP. He just specifically talks about that. But when he talks about this tier list, that's when the title usually it's about tier list. I don't know. But it's going to be fun. Let's watch it.
The Africa server is full of extremes. You've got the most powerful builds in the game, including the largest terrestrial build in the entire game currently.
Yep.
But while the African bush elephant may indeed be the largest, it isn't the tallest. That title goes to the subject of today's video, the giraffe. But is being the tallest build in the game actually that effective of a strategy? How does it play out in practice? And what abilities did the giraffe spec into in order to compound its innate advantages?
I guess being tall and
the giraffe's
I guess you can
extreme
sneak
height
up on
grants
it.
it several benefits. The first of these is how it completely changes the dynamics regarding the game's stealth mechanics. So most top predators in the African savanna opt for the ambush strategy to get within striking range of their targets. They tend to rely on a combination of innate camouflage and use of natural cover to evade detection while closing most of the distance, breaking from cover only at the last possible second when they believe they can close the remaining distance before the target has a chance to react. This strategy is almost completely useless against the giraffe, because the stealth benefit from natural cover, things like tall grass and bushes, is entirely negated when viewed from a high vantage point. While staying low to the ground may obscure your character from the perspective of something like a gazelle or zebra, to a giraffe you are completely exposed and your approach was seen coming from quite a ways off. The second main benefit granted to the
I mean, yeah, it makes sense because tall grasses and, hedges don't matter because you can clearly see from there. Where's Waldo? There's Waldo. But I guess something like leopard and things that naturally blends in with certain type of brown type of foliage, I guess it would still be hard to see. I don't know. But yeah, I guess even their neck is so maneuverable, right? They can literally see like behind them. So yeah, sneaking up on them would be really hard.
To the giraffe via its height is a bonus to its defense. Because the giraffe's hurt box is elevated significantly off the ground, it's extremely difficult for most players to land a hit on the giraffe's vitals. In fact, for literally every relevant threat in the African meta, landing a strike on the giraffe's weak point requires either a risky jump strike or an ambush from an elevated position, neither of which are very efficient strategies, with the jump strike in particular being easily punishable by any of the giraffe's many powerful counterattack options. Speaking of, let's take a look at what those are. The giraffe's reach not only keeps its own vitals out of attack range, but also makes it very easy for a giraffe main to land their own attacks. Similar to horses and zebras, the giraffe's main method of attacking is its kick, dealing moderate damage to any target that dares enter the giraffe's zone of control. However,
I don't know why they feel so good to me that giraffe knows that there's a predator behind it. Doesn't even look behind, just kicks it, knowing that it's gonna close it. That's some bad as shit.
When the giraffe really needs to deal some damage, it resorts to its signature move, the ossicone bash.
Oh, the
giraffe
thing.
swings its neck in a wide arc, with the intent to connect with the horn-like protrusions on its skull, called ossicones. Connecting with this attack means pretty much instant game over for any player it hits, unless they have an extremely large health pool, such as another giraffe. However, it is a bit more risky to just throw this move out, considering that it puts your normally out-of-reach weak point in a potential.
Yeah, okay, so those things are for that, they use that for damage. So I didn't know that they're like horn type of thing there. Other they just simply headbutt it, hope for the best.
Potentially vulnerable position, and also deals a little recoil damage with each use as well. And if an attacking player does manage to dodge the first swing and get in close, using this move becomes much more difficult, since the close range hitbox is a bit of a sour spot. But still, the mere threat of this move is enough to dissuade most attacks, to the point that most predator players won't even bother with a high-level giraffe. Low-level giraffe manes are a lot more vulnerable, and this is where the efficacy of the giraffe's reach and height is really put to the test. Upon spawning in, the giraffe is pretty much helpless. It doesn't have the height advantage on its opponents yet, but because of its slender, lanky shape, it has disadvantage on all saving throws to avoid being grappled or knocked prone. And so it's the job of the higher level giraffe players to complete the long, arduous escort mission of protecting the newborn giraffe as it matures. Now, because the giraffe's attack range is so broad, it is able to guard a wide area and pressure a counterattack on any player that would dare target the newborn. However, because the giraffe does not possess any AoE attacks, defending against multiple opponents at once can be quite challenging, often necessitating that a newborn tank a few hits as the mother chases away one attacker at a time. Now, despite having not leveled up at all, the giraffe starts with a pretty generous amount of HP, but even so, it's not uncommon for the escort mission to fail. And with a respawn time of 15 months, this is certainly one of the most frustrating aspects of giraffe gameplay. Next, let's talk about individual matchups.
Yeah, oh, there you go. There's a tier list, I guess. Unwinnable. Okay. Yeah, giraffes, I mean, first of all, look, like you said, giraffes don't have AoE damage things, so even though neck can be threatening, but yeah, so giraffe has to be accurate whenever they try to attack it, right? Anyone who's been in fight, they know if you don't know how to fight, I mean, it doesn't matter what you are. If you don't know how to connect, yeah, that's not going to work. So giraffe has to, attack precisely, especially something like lion or jaguar or something like that, because they are really precise when they attack. I'm guessing tigers would have a good, good fight against it. I don't know, fight. Yeah, good, prey. Good. They will be good against the giraffe, I guess, in a way. Even though they're pretty sure they are not in the same server, or giraffes are not usually tigers' prey or something. But tiger can jump really high, right? And they are really, really strong, muscular. So I guess they would have more success in jump attack like that.
First, we have the cheetah. Anyways, on a serious note, first we have the leopard. Now, the leopard is one of the most interesting matchups because of its ability to climb and attack from a high vantage point. Leopard players have been known to use their ability to climb as part of their ambush strategy, pouncing on their target from above. This could mean it's the only predator in the game with an honest shot at landing a surprise crit against the giraffe. But in all honesty, this would be an insanely risky strategy, and since leopards hunt alone, there's really not much reason to try and take down such large prey, when they can survive just fine off of the standard diet of antelope and deer. Still, against a lower level giraffe, I could see this strategy working pretty well, if no allies were around to rescue it. But since leopards kill slowly by strangling their target with their bite, this gives the giraffe's party members a lot of time to react and respond accordingly. This is similar to the issue lions have in their matchup against giraffes. Compared to some of the other potential threats, a lion can't actually deal that much damage on its own.
How many? Oh, for God's sake, how many animals are there? Like elephant, now giraffe, the lions cannot finish off. There's always some video where everybody's just dragging along. Just 4 or 5 lions just try to kill it, can't. That is just fucking embarrassing. King of the jungle, yeah, sure.
To a giraffe. Even against a low-level giraffe player, it's unlikely they could take it out in a single attack, leading to the same issue as a leopard, where the giraffe's teammates would be able to rescue it. However, because lions do cooperate, together it is possible for a pride of lions to bring down even a large adult giraffe. Yeah. But not without serious risk to the attackers. And since lions typically close in on their targets by staying low to the ground and moving slowly, the giraffe's height is perfectly suited to detecting their approach and escaping before they're in any real danger. So lions taking down giraffes does happen, but it's exceptionally rare. The rhino is an interesting matchup. Obviously, giraffes and rhinos have no real reason to attack each other, but due to the rhino's poor eyesight, it tends to perceive most players that come near it to be threats regardless. Lucky for the giraffe, the rhino's horn is not usually able to reach the giraffe's weak point, so as long as it
seriously,
poor eyesight, it tends to
I thought the truck would flip over. I don't know. I just thought that because Rhino is really strong, but it surprised me that it didn't. So I guess that just surprised me how heavy and just when it's on move, how force a truck can have. Because I thought because rhinos can flip over cars, and if a car would hit truck from that side angle, T-bone it like that, I think truck would, I guess, lose balance at least. I don't know why it didn't happen here. I guess rhino immediately backed off or something, didn't go with full force.
To perceive most players that come near it to be threats regardless. Lucky for the giraffe, The rhino's horn is not usually able to reach the giraffe's weak point, so as long as it can avoid getting knocked over, giraffes tend to do just fine in this matchup. Despite the incredible range of a rhinoceros's horn, the giraffe's kick can still outrange it, and although rhinos are quite tanky, a good kick to the face is usually enough to dissuade further attacks.
If rhinos have their horns, which is a big issue because people are kind of taking it off, right? That's a big issue. Like seeing a rhino with its big horn would be a surprise. Like, okay, how did poacher didn't go after them? But yeah, that's a big issue now.
An important matchup I want to discuss is the hyena. Now, because they can't really jump, hyenas don't have anywhere near the vertical threat range that lions or leopards do, so attacking an adult giraffe is pretty much out of the question. However, instead of this increased agility, hyenas have a much more powerful bite. Rather than requiring a critical hit, a hyena can crack bone with a single bite anywhere on the target, which can immediately disable their prey and make rescue attempts futile. This is particularly effective against players who rely on their teammates for protection, as even if an ally does step in to fight off the attackers, oftentimes it's simply too late and the damage has already been done. Eventually the teammates will move on and the hyenas will be able to close out the kill. Lastly, I don't think it's any real surprise to see that giraffes still have to respect the space of an elephant. Elephants are tall enough to gore a giraffe with their powerful tusks, so if there's ever a territorial dispute
between an elephant and a giraffe,
I've seen some video, the elephant always wins. Thankfully for a giraffe, its longer legs grant it a faster run speed.
What the fuck?
So while elephants do pose a serious threat, this hardly ever actually results in direct damage. In fact, by and large, rather than competing with other herbivores for the best resources, the giraffe's unique access to treetops means that it actually makes a lot of sense for other herbivores to tolerate or even appreciate the presence of a giraffe. They aren't taking away any food that they would have accessed anyway, and could also serve as an early warning system if they see predators coming. So, while they're definitely not the most overpowered build, they're certainly up there, near untouchable for the vast majority of their playthrough, and have fairly reliable protection in the early game. I'd put them in solid A tier. In fact, it's somewhat strange that other herbivore players haven't started speccing into similar height advantages to gain the same survival perks as the giraffe.
Yeah,
the giraffe
what the
is
fuck
extremely
I did.
unique in its role in the meta, which is weird because historically, the treetop grazer giant type build has been extremely successful. Giant long-necked rhinoceros reigned supreme during the Oligocene, and before that we saw this strategy.
I think everybody intuitively already knows that if you're taller, you have advantage in any doesn't matter which animal you are.
Strategy absolutely dominate during the Mesozoic in the form of the sauropod dinosaur. So why only the giraffe in today's meta? There are a few theories on this, but that's beyond the scope of this video. In terms of strategy and playstyle, the closest thing we have today is probably the camel. But surprisingly, the giraffe is not that closely related to camels. The giraffe only has two close relatives in the current meta. The first is the okapi, a strange build that functions as sort of a middle ground between deer and giraffes. And the second is one that basically nobody would expect, the pronghorn, which is completely different than the giraffe in both stature and location. Both the okapi and giraffe are only playable on the Africa server, but to find the pronghorn, you'd need to travel all the way to the North America server. The pronghorn deserves an entire video to itself since it's such a fascinating build with an extremely distinct strategy from everything else on the American server. And guess what? That video, it already exists. You can watch it right now, a month before everyone else, by subscribing to Nebula, a streaming service owned and operated by and for creators like me. Nebula.
Yeah, people go to nebula.tv videos forces TierZoo something. Go to just the original video page, link in the description. And yeah, giraffes are OP'er than I thought. I guess it makes sense when you really commonsensically think about it. They're taller, they can see things, right? And reaching them would be really hard. But I don't know. I think tigers would have a better chance against them. Obviously, tigers, and they are not going to be in the same server. They are not tigers' prey, I guess. But tigers would fare better. I don't know. But yeah, if you're taller, you can just, I guess, jump around just like how deer does, right? Kick and just run out of the way. Trying to evade is better if you are kind of higher up the reach. But yeah, that was something. I think jaguars would have a better advantage as well. They are really accurate and their bite is the strongest there is, I guess, of the cats. But yeah, I guess they are not. I don't know. They don't also hunt giraffes in a way. I mean, most time there's going to be some preys that are better, like deers and some other than giraffes. So usually this is about survival. So they are not going to risk attacking giraffe if they can have something else. But yeah, I guess group of lions can always take something down. Whenever something is in group, that's it. If it's a predator, it hunts in group. Yeah, it's always going to be dangerous. Right, well, that was our giraffes OP in a way, compared to the, I guess, others. But in a way, yeah. Watch on TierZoo. If you like my reaction, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.